John Pollock with you here on Fight Network, and we are joined here by Ring of Honor performer Matt Taven, who I know a lot of our viewers want to get an update. Matt, of course, you suffered a really tough injury back in December. Can you take us through exactly what happened to you and how the recovery is going?
Well, I guess it's not a memory that I like to, relive.
Sorry to start things off on such a negative note.
But so basically, final battle, we were, in the midst of the beginning of the match, really. And when I came off the second rope to the floor and I went to land on my feet, I wasn't sure, obviously, at first what happened. I knew something was up. I tried to kind of walk it off. I felt like a real looseness in my knee, which I thought I sprained my knee personally, or might have just tweaked it. Turns out I completely tore my ACL at that point. Continuing to wrestle for the next 10 minutes is what cost me, some extra time in my career, because later in that match I go for a spin kick, and since there's no stability in my knee, if you were to take this as your knee and to spin, the meniscus inside here literally ruptured and shot up the back of my leg. So my second surgery was just to get that meniscus out and put it back into my knee. So it's been a rough go with things since December. I had both surgeries in January, and right now we're in May, so I'm only a few months out. But things have been going good, you know what I mean? I've been keeping a positive feel about everything. Rehab's been going really well. I'm in some great hands back in New England. And, I've been keeping around here at Ring of Honor just because obviously I'm interested. At the same time, you sit at home and you got your leg up in a brace and you're icing it, and you just kind of want to be around the whole atmosphere of wrestling again. So luckily I've been able to keep a part of things here, and a couple more months or so, I'll be back in the ring.
Is it something that you just focus on getting back into the ring? Do you play that scene over in your head a lot? Is it tough mentally to get over a big injury like that?
I think at first I kind of, and I can remember, I haven't honestly watched the entire match. I've watched when I tore my ACL, and then I stopped watching after that. Actually, the footage of me tearing my ACL was shown at a surgeon's convention in Orlando, because the extensive damage that was done to my meniscus was something that's extremely uncommon, and they were actually pretty surprised that they were able to save it. So thankfully they did. But I think at first I kind of sat around my room and I was just like, I can't believe I tore my ACL. Like, I can't believe this is happening. And I could have stayed in that place and kind of just questioned everything that happened. Why did I do this? Why did I do that? Why did I keep wrestling? But you know what I mean? I got to a point where it was like, all right, well, this is what happened to my life, and now it's surgery, rehab, and I'll be back. Like, everything's part of this crazy story that, we call wrestling. As a lot of wrestlers know, absolutely nothing's planned in wrestling as far as your career-wise. Things just kind of happen. And, this is just something that was thrown at me, and hopefully in the end I'll come out better in the end of things.
Have they given you the indication that if the rehab goes right, you should be back to 100%? Will there be any limitations? Will you put any on yourself coming back?
I wouldn't want to come back if I had to put limitations on myself. You know what I mean? Since I was 6 years old, I've loved professional wrestling, and it's all I've ever really wanted to be. And to think that I would go back in the ring and not be, my normal self, or not be 100%, or not be able to give the fans 100%, is just something I wouldn't see myself doing or want to do. As far as will I be back at 100%, of course. I had a great surgeon. I'm in great hands for rehab, and they keep joking that my left knee will end up being my stronger knee in the end. It's just it's a long road, you know what I mean? And like I said, continuing to wrestle and rupturing that meniscus is actually the reason why it's going to be a longer road than usual. But at the same time, I'm up for that challenge. You know what I mean? I was up for the challenge of continuing wrestling when I knew something was wrong. And, stuff happens. And, the first 6 weeks after surgery, I couldn't put any pressure whatsoever. So I wasn't walking for the first, 6 weeks. But then when I finally walked, it felt like that was an achievement. I started running recently. It's like all these little goals are just kind of like, these are check marks till I'm back in the ring. And as frustrating as it can be at times, because obviously you want to just get to that last box, it's pretty gratifying to know that, the love that you have for wrestling is still inside you, and it's enough to push you through an injury as crazy as this, and check all those boxes off until I'm back in there.
Is there a silver lining in the sense that, you know, whenever there's an awful injury in pro wrestling, there's that return and there's a chance to come back with a new coat of paint? And I think anyone watching this can see that passion that you have, making this comeback. Do you sense that as well, the fact that while I have this downtime, I can really think about how I want to be utilized, what changes I can make about myself?
Oh, of course, of course. I mean, you know, we're always looking for opportunities to freshen ourselves up in wrestling. And granted, this probably isn't the way I would have chose to take some time off to freshen up, but it's what happened, and I'm going to take full advantage of that. You know, in the meantime, I'm keeping my finger on the pulse and seeing what goes on and how I can make an impact when I get back. But without a doubt, I mean, all the things that have happened so far have kind of happened out of the blue, and then I ran with it. And this is just another thing that I'm going to run with. And when I come back in the ring, I'm sure people will see kind of a fresh face of Matt Taven.
Have you gotten to see a lot of Mike Bennett and Maria in TNA, what they've been doing over there? Because they're obviously a very big part of that show.
I mean, of course, me and Mike actually just recently opened a school in Rhode Island, a wrestling school. So I see Mike twice, 3 times a week. I mean, I talk to him all the time. I couldn't be happier for him. You know, I love Mike and Maria, and you know, they're having a good time over there, and obviously, you know, they keep tabs with what's going on here. They miss their family, you know, in Ring of Honor, and vice versa. You know what I mean? Being here, kind of or traveling, you know, across the border without Mike and Maria, a trip that we've done so many times, it does feel a little weird. But at the same time, it's more of a divide and conquer feel. You know what I mean? It's like, you take over that place, and when I come back, I'm going to take over this place, and then we'll laugh together in the end. So I'm very happy for both of them.
Well, last thing, tell us a bit about the school, and has that given you a different perspective being in a teaching capacity that's enhanced yourself in any way?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, I've always liked helping out guys that were coming up, you know, after me. I think that's because I had such great peers that helped me out at the beginning, and Mike Bennett being one of them. Mike, granted, we're probably the same age, but he started at such a young age that when I jumped in, you know, he had some seasoning behind him. So he helped me right along, and that's something that we both kind of continue to like to pass on. And you know, the love that we talk about for wrestling, when you break it back down to its simplest forms and you're teaching it to someone that really doesn't know, you know, the grand scheme of things, it brings you right back to that pure guttural passion that you have for something. And, you know, for me it helps because I'm rehabbing and trying to get back in the ring. So it's like, you know, we're both going through kind of beginner steps, me and the students, but at the same time, it's given me a fresh view on wrestling in all different aspects. And to be there with Mike and just bounce ideas off one another, it keeps your mind so fresh for wrestling that I know when I get back in the ring, I'm not going to miss a beat mentally. As far as the school itself, I mean, it's called the Wrestling Kingdom in West Warwick, Rhode Island. Please come check it out. But it's such a joy for me, just because, like I said, I love wrestling. I love all the aspect of it. Getting out of the house and kind of being here, you know, is just kind of brightened my day after surgery and stuff. But this is the stuff that now I can kind of do in another facet. You know, I can go down to school. I can get kind of that same jonesing, same kick for wrestling, just rolling around with some of the kids. So it's been a blessing.
Well, Matt, we want to all wish you a very speedy recovery.
Appreciate it.
You can catch Ring of Honor Tuesday nights, 11 Eastern here on Fight Network, and he'll be making his return imminently.
The hardest hits. The most intense action. The best wrestling on the planet. Ring of Honor Wrestling. Creating excellence every week.
This is Jay Lethal, the Ring of Honor World Champion, and you're watching the Fight Network, the home of Ring of Honor Wrestling in Canada.